Okay, we are at the final week of this quarter, so that means it's our final project, or my final project. For this week, we're making pot pie. We're making it the whole week. It's like different steps. But today is Monday, so we're gonna start off with making the pie crust. Now, I was reading the recipe, and it's very different than what I was expecting because, I looked at the ingredients, and I don't know what I was expecting because I saw the shortening, but then for some reason I thought, because I made pie crust before and I use butter instead of shortening, and then it also takes more time. This is going to be really a lot easier to make, but the butter, you like chop it into cubes and then you cut it in to the flour, and then you have to make sure the butter is cold. Everything has to be cold when you're making pie crust, but this will be easier. I don't know what I was talking. I don't know my point what this was. Anyway, today we're making pie crust for the pot pie, so we're gonna get started. Okay, so now that we have everything set up, we have the area sanitized, hands are clean, apron on. I have in a bowl first, I have 2 cups of flour, and then I'm gonna make sure that's all out. Recycle your stuff, people. That can be recycled. Anyway, then we're gonna have 1 teaspoon of salt, and then once that's in, we are going to give it a quick little mix before we cut in our shortening. Okay, so now I'm just giving it a quick mix so we can mix in the flour and the salt. I'm using a pastry butter, I don't know. This thing, I have it. I kind of forgot what it's called on the top of my head. It cuts in the butter, or in this case, we're using shortening. But I'm just going to give it a quick mix of the flour and salt. So now we're going to add in our shortening. And this is about 2/3 cup and like 2 tablespoons. I'm not going to add it all in at a time. We're going to add in at times and then cut it in and then add a little bit. That's what I do with the butter. You got like a couple cubes in at a time, and then and then you cut it, and then and so by cutting, it's not actually like, I don't know, like cutting with a knife. I mean, that's so you cut the butter with a knife, but like the pastry blender, by the way, I was right, it's pastry blender. You are like, I don't know, you take the butter or shortening, whatever you're using, and you like mix it into the flour. Like it actually goes in the flour. It's not the same as mixing it. You're cutting into the flour. I feel like it's self-explanatory if you know what it is, but like you're basically just like infusing in the flour. So it gives a lot of taste. Anyway, so we're gonna do this until all the shortening's gone, and it's gonna be kind of crumbly until we add the water in, but we want it to be crumbly but kind of stick together at the same time. It's a specific look. Okay, so I finished cutting in the shortening, and it's really hard to show you, but you can see a bunch of the little coarse they're not crumbs, but you can see where the shortening mixed together with the flour, and it's a bunch of little crumbs. That's what we want to see. And so now we're going to add in cold water, because like I said in the beginning, you want everything to be cold in this pie crust. So I add in 4 to 6 tablespoons, but we're going to go 1 tablespoon at a time, because when you're making pie crust, it really is on how it's like, there's a very specific texture. You don't want it to be too like sticking together, but you also want it to be a little bit crumbly. So it all depends on like 1 tablespoon too many could just ruin it, and 1 tablespoon not enough is like gonna make it fall apart. So there's a balance that you need to come with the water. So that's why you go 1 tablespoon at a time to make sure you don't over water it or underwater. Okay, so I finished my dough. I added in a total about 6 tablespoons of water. That's what I needed. So I have my ball, and I'm actually gonna cut it in half before I start working with it. And why we sanitize our surface is because I'm using my surface as a well, I have a cutting board. We have like a little thing right here that we use for breads, but I want to be in the shot, so that's what we're going to be using this to work on my dough. So I floured the surface, and we're just going to start working it. And I'm just giving a little bit of flour on both sides before I start rolling it out with my rolling pin. So I'm just going to take my rolling pin and start working it. And so this is also, I mean, we're doing this to, you know, get our size so we can start cutting it out. But also, if you start to notice, with this, you can see the shortening, but if you do it with butter too, you can start seeing the butter start to mix in more, like, because when you're using butter, because I've only used butter except for now, you usually have pretty big pieces still incorporated into the dough, and when you start rolling it, you can see the butter start to slide, and that's just what I'm seeing right now, some shortening, which is gonna give it the flavor of. So I'm gonna start churning, get some more flour because that started to stick a little bit. Keep rolling. Just finished rolling out my pie crust, and so I'm now going to cut it out. I have my pan and then put it on top of the pie crust so I can cut it out. I'm gonna lay it just like this on top and cut out with a little bit of excess, so when I'm gonna put it in the pan, I can overlap it. Okay, so now I have it cut out and I have to put it into the pan. This is gonna be hard because I don't have it like on a parchment paper or anything, so I can't flip it over. So we're gonna see how this goes. If it does rip, well, I have extra so I can repair it. Actually, you know what? I can use my bench scraper and pick it up a little bit, and then, oh my god. This looks so good too, and I don't want to rip it. Okay, hold on. If you could just see the struggle, I mean, you could see the struggle, but like, if you could see what's happening underneath. Because I think it's stuck a little bit. Yikes. Oh my god. Okay, I got it. Let's go. Go time. And go. I didn't make it. Oh god. Okay, ready, lift, and go. Okay, that one was better. Okay, okay. Oh, frick. Okay, now we're just gonna pat it in. This looks pretty good. I didn't rip it. Luckily, it's a little uneven, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna start pressing into the pan. The edges like this, I'm gonna press it in. So when it cooks, sometimes the pie crust kind of, how do I, for some reason I want to say levitates off of it, but that's not what I'm trying to say. It just rises off of it. So we just want to make sure it's really pressed in there. And I have a little overlapping, so I'm just going to take those a little bit, oh, not too much, just a little bit off. And then press it in. So I finished rolling out the second half of my pie crust. So now I'm just going to take the pan and put it on top just like this of the pie crust and cut out, again, a little bit extra around. So just about to the edge with a little bit like that. You didn't see what I did, but it's to the edge of the pan with like a ½ milliliter extra. I just like to give myself extra because you can always cut off the ends. You can't, you know, stretch it out more. I mean, you could, but it could get really messy and start ripping, and I don't know why you'd want to do that. So just give yourself a little extra if you have it. I'm done cutting that, and I have a lot of extras, and I will be using this for cutouts because I think I have a cute little like leaf pattern that I can put on top. It's very fall-like. So now that I have the other half of this done, I'm going to carefully fold it in quarters and put it in with my crust. I'm gonna do this so it doesn't rip anything, which I think I already did a little bit. It's okay, I can always fix it. I'm just gonna cut it, or not cut it, fold it again, and put it in. I have it like this, and we're just gonna put it in, and then we're gonna put it in the freezer. Not the freezer, the fridge. Because we're gonna let it cool overnight. I'm gonna also put saran wrap, but we're just gonna let it cool overnight, and then tomorrow we can start working on the vegetables. So that's it for the pie crust today. It looks really nice, and yeah.